Everybody, welcome to the Jankyard. I'm your host, love me or hate me, the treatment, and tonight, just feeling pretty chill. Want to do some deck building. There's been a lot of new players coming into the community as a result of the Kickstarter by Plaid Hat Games for Ash's Ascendancy, as well as their entire back catalog. And I see people coming in saying that they've either played some solo or some basic 1v1s with the precons, and they don't really know, what to do for deck building or where to start, where to begin. And it can definitely be really intimidating because the game itself is pretty deep, and there are obvious synergies in cards and perhaps some non-obvious synergies or things that you don't know what to sort of build for past a certain point. Obviously, that changes with the meta. But yeah, I just figured it would be fun to do. And the new Moon Cove cards just dropped on Ash's Live last night. So I was really excited to do some deck building, but I fell asleep early. So today is the day. Welcome to Shadow and Dura. Good to have you guys on. This isn't going to be like new player specific. There'll be maybe one or two things that are specifically new players, but I just really wanted to kind of, I don't know, jabber on about my thought process. We've done plenty of stuff in the past, like a couple of years ago, me, Shmeny, and Killer, we all did, I think 2 or 3 episodes on deck building. All of that stuff I think is still relevant. I haven't gone back and listened to it, but for the most part, it should all be relevant. So that's a good place to start. There's also tons of articles on the wiki, but these are just my solo thoughts, and I just wanted to build something. So let's just get the ashes up and over here. First thing, I guess I should say, is like the number one rule for deck building as a new player is don't deck build right away. You start with the precons, sure, easy, get the rules under your belt, but like I said, deck building can be fairly intimidating, and it can also be disheartening if you build a deck that maybe you're excited about because you think certain cards are cool or good, but you don't really have the right counters to some of the decks that other people might be playing out there, and then you just get crushed a few times and it's like, oh, this sucks, I don't know what I'm doing. So we've always said in the community, don't jump into deck building like net deck. There are so many good decks out there. There are so many good deck builders out there. Carl, Brian, Matt, Killer, Red King, on and on and on. Like these guys are prolific. I mean, Red King alone probably makes up over half of the Ashes Live database of decks. There is a lot out there, and there's also a lot tailored to being the next step up from precons and learning the game. So whether that's because you're mostly a solo player that's jumping into 1v1, or you just, even when you're building out your campaign decks, you're like, oh, how do I go about it? There's so much out there. I always like to recommend the first adventure deck, which was built by Impossible German. That's sort of like Aerodel versus Saria as a specific matchup. Then there's all the master set upgrades, which is like a step up from the precons, and it's out of a limited collection of things. Then there's the dual duels, and then you can sort of go up from there, like adventure parties, and then get into full constructed where, again, just go on Ash's Live, go in the Discord, ask people what's good. I think Fred is maintaining a list of every tournament collection of cards, so like at least all the top cuts. So those are like the meta decks, I guess you could say, at any given time. There's tons. Just net deck. It's something that I did not do out of, I don't know, ego and stubbornness. And I feel like I had a rough start to my Ashes career. So yeah, number one rule for new players, don't deck build. But once you get past that step of net decking, then I think the natural thing to do with deck building is to not start from scratch. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're not going to start from scratch to start. We're going to start with just what I would do as like a tweak or an iteration of a deck that I've played at least once or twice. And maybe I had, ideally, you iterate after you've had a bad matchup because that tells you more than having a good matchup. But that's what I'm going to start with. And the other night I got crushed by Shadow playing a Fiona deck, and so that deck has been on my mind. So that's the deck I want to tweak, and I like the deck, so it should be relatively easy. So this is going to start off here. I don't know. I can't really tell. Is it zoomed in enough for you guys? Please let me know. I think I have this zoomed at like 125%, so it should be good. But this is it's a Hope deck. It's a deck that I just popped out of nowhere when the Illusion set Shadowwreck had first dropped, and I just wanted to try some of the new things. And I've only played, I think, 2 games of 50-50, but there were clearly some problems playing it the other night. And so this is sort of what I would do, where I take a deck that I've now played and I'm just tweaking it, just small changes, and then, you know, that's how the iteration sort of goes. Yeah, Shadow, always there for the joke. All right, so first thing to do, well, I mean, we'll get into this when we're building from scratch, but it's like, what is the deck's core idea that you're trying to preserve with a tweak, and also why do you tweak? So generally, if you've built your own deck, you know what the core idea is. Hopefully you have a core idea. That's something that we talked about in our previous deck building things, is start with a core idea. Could be anything, really. And I'll do that later today or tonight when I build a deck from scratch. But like, if you're just taking someone's deck, try and figure out what are the core pieces, the core either synergies or the core idea of it that you want to preserve. And then you want to really only, I think, probably pick 2 to 3 card types, or sorry, like cards, but not individual cards. Like, you know, if in this list you see I have 3 Fire Archers or 3 backflips, you know, that would just be one card that I might want to replace. And not necessarily all copies of, but you just pick like 2 or 3, because if you start changing too many things, then it becomes very difficult to keep track of what worked and why, and like what didn't work. If you're, you know, it's easier to change 1 or 2 small variables, and so that's what I'm going to do here. So what was the problem that I had the other night, and what's the core idea? So first of all, this, aside from the title, which is like just try the new stuff, the core idea of this was spin down and burn merged into one, because Whisperer seemed really cool, and I wanted to try out Scrawler, which was at the time Hope's new unique, and you know, I just figured, okay, well, Whisperer is already doing spin down and burn, so how can we support that? And I ended up throwing in some Dream Fractures, and a Dreamlock Mage, and then some Fire Archers to add to that burn, Hollows to add more spin down to the idea, and then again, I just wanted to try new things, so I also added in backflips and juggle, and ink spill. So those were kind of just tossed in there because I thought, okay, well, like, you know, I need some removal. I wanted to try that. I have a bunch of allies, and one of the issues that you can run into with Hope is some self-clear. So, hey, what about backflip? And then, you know, Terra Herder and Paladin were really good. And then Umbral Acrobat, another new card that I threw in there, as well as Gates Defender. So this was really just like all the good stuff, or all the new stuff. So what didn't work last night? Well, the first thing that didn't work was that I miscounted my first 5. So that's a separate matter of knowing what to play. But the first 5 was Gates Thrown Open with the 3 books, the 3 summons, Lightbringer, Scrawler, Whisperer. I ended up starting Juggle, which does not work with that start if you're also using Duplicate and want to summon all three books. I think I should have just gone with Old Salt, which was probably the plan I had at the beginning when I made this deck. But nonetheless, it did okay round one, spits out a lot of bodies, and it turns out that Scrawler was actually really cool and helpful against Fiona's new unit, the Metamorpher. But what didn't work is I really couldn't keep up with the spam on the Fiona side because it's a lot of weak units. Scrawler and Lightbringer both have some sequencing ideals. Like obviously you could just drop them and play them, but ideally you want to maximize their use, so you're trying not to summon them right away. They can all be easily pinged away. I got hit by 3 reverberates and that just killed the game. I didn't draw more than half my deck, so I didn't see a lot of the key cards I would have liked to see, which was a problem. I don't think I saw half my allies, which kind of sucked, and I didn't see any fire archers until the very end when the game was already done. And one hand, I got 3 backflips and 2 terror herders, or 1 terror herder. And not only could I not really play that with the Whisperers, which was a problem, it just not at all good for catching up. So the real problems that I thought and that I want to change right now is the Terror Herders and Backflip synergy is cute, and I definitely think it could work on a wider board, or if you had other sort of beefy units to back it up and maybe go down to like 2 backflips, but it just wasn't working. It wasn't working here. And so those are definitely 2 on my cut list. So that's what I'm going to do. So if you haven't used Ashes Live, some people just like make a new deck, but since we're doing tweaking here, I like to keep the history of it. So what you can do is you can edit the deck, and then there should be snapshot up here. And you know, like you could keep notes. So like saying backflip was bad, as well as Terra. Terra was mostly like dice problems and clog. So, you know, fine. Save that, and now at least when I go back, if I ever go back, then I know what I changed and why. So let's take out those, which immediately will give us 5 slots, which is kind of nice. And I could perhaps take out 1 or 2 more. I'm not sure about the Inks build, but I didn't get to play it, so I'm not going to take it out. The Paladin, maybe. I think I really just have it there as a first 5 option. It could be, in theory, a cut, because I don't think I can play... I'll have to do a first 5 count again, because I don't remember what this deck was supposed to be. But like a Glory Paladin might be part of the first 5, other than the gates. And then now I just want to try and fix what the problem is. So the good news is that I think the deck actually does have legs. It's not like an idea that I should just toss. Whisperer, considering I don't think I ever attacked, or I attacked maybe once, just putting bodies down and using a Lightbringer to draw out attacks, I did like 9 burn damage, and that wasn't even with the Dream Fractures on board. So I think the burn part definitely has legs. Removal was the issue, and so for that case, since I'm in Divine and Ceremonial, my immediate thoughts were to go up on Old Salts to 3 of, and to add Fork Lightning as removal, because there wasn't a lot of times where I was spending the Divine Days. Now I'm already at 30, and it's like, okay, that would be cool, but that's not really how I deck build. I add all the ideas that I have at the time, and then I sort of trim back later, because trying to figure out the perfect count as you're going, you spend more time being like, do I have enough dice for this, blah 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 blah, what's the perfect number, than just sort of adding what you feel and then cutting it later to see how maybe like what you've added changes what you're taking out. The other thing I wish I had instead of an old salt as a first 5 option, because you got the 3 books, times 2 with the gates, that's 7 including the gates. Hope duplicate is 8, and then I basically have 2 ceremonial that it could have been old salt. I wish I had a widows at some point. Widows is just nice with Lightbringer, it's nice with Hope, so I wish I had one of those. Hey Charlotte, glad to have you here. I'm just going through some deck building, and we're starting with tweaking an idea. So that's one idea that I had. Again, I'm trying not to like change too many things, trying to keep it to a few variables, but I'm going to go through the ideas I had. So one of the things I mentioned was I didn't have any way of getting through my deck really, other than the drawing 5 each round, and because my spell board is all very chumpy, and I also have like Fire Archer and Hollows in here, I got hit too many times. So my immediate thought was, and Charlotte, you joined at the right time, good old Particle Shield. I'm in color for it. It's a good reaction. It helps draw. It helps protect some of my small guys if I need to. So maybe that. Now I'm not going to personally add 3 right now, just because I know for sure I'm not going to use 3 in the deck, and I think 2 is kind of a sweet spot for Particle Shield, but I might even cut that down to 1. So I'm just going to add 2, and then just because, why not? What's the point of doing this live and having a chat if no one's going to say anything? Shadow saying Glory plus Light Swordsman into Gates is a nice opening, and it's honestly a nice aggro opening. So I'll do one of those. I don't know why. Actually, I don't have a single Light Swordsman, but let's just toss that in. All right. Now, that's like, there we go. That's already 4 cards over. It's, I think, 4 different types of cards, and we're getting a little crazy here. But this is like my process. Not everyone's going to be the same. So we have 4 cards to cut. Ideally, I'm not cutting too many more of the core thing, but I know I did go up to 2 Old Salt, which is something I need to now at least account, and I added Widows, which is a lot of ceremonial. So realistically, I'm probably going to have to count and cut. Light Swordsman might fit, but with the Blessing, with the Fork Lightning, we'll have to count that as well. And then during the game, I did find I was already fairly stretched on Illusion once I hit the 3 Whispers, so we'll see, because sometimes you just need to fill some of the extra cards with basic sinks. So now is the time to do the math. So we'll start with ceremonial. We've got 2, and if I assume that I'm going to start with a Gates Widows open, then I don't need to worry about the Widows. If I do an Old Salt Gate start, then it's 1 less, but we can just sort of look at it. So 3 Fire Archers, that's 3 costs, 3 Old Salts, now we're up to 6, and a Fester is 7, and because we could kind of ignore the Widows, maybe we're at 7 over 2. That's not that bad, actually. I thought I was going to be a lot worse. If we go up to 8, it's pushing it a little bit. And we're at 14 allies with also possibly summoning 5 units, like 5 from the book every round. Probably going to cut either a Fire Archer or an Old Salt. So that's one option. And then we'll look at the divine. So we've got 3. We know for sure that 1 is probably always going to be used for Lightbringer every round. So really we're on 2 again. And we've got, let's see, Glory's basic. So we've got a light swordsman now that we added. We've got a paladin, which realistically is a first 5 option. I have to take a quick look at what a second first 5 would be other than a gates. So we'll skip that. Light swordsman, 3 fork lightnings, that's up to 4, and that's it. So I guess the only reason I had the extra divines was really for this paladin open, because I don't see a reason other than that. So let's just see what I would play otherwise. So if I did 3 books, that's 3. A dupe is 4. Glory into paladin is another 5. So it's 9. And I guess I could start Dream Fracture or Fester or anything. So that's actually not a bad first 5 option. It just sucks that as a result of that, I can't do, like, I can't increase my illusion dice because ceremonial is always full. So this is now like I have to make a choice. What else could I do that would still be like a second sort of main opening, and get rid of this paladin, because it's like I don't have a ton of synergies to make it work. It's just one big body. So I'm ideally looking to cut that and maybe go up to 6 illusion, and that would also help me support a lot more of the new stuff, especially since there's double costs like Gates Defender, Dreamlock Mage. I have the hollows, which are, expensive, this juggle. So this is where like you can definitely go overboard with cutting things. Right now, my wife's in chat. Right now, I just want to try and aim at keeping this down. So then one other factor I would think about is like, how many of each type of card do I have? Do I need 6 reaction spells? Maybe. It's not that bad. 14 allies with these books, that feels like where I want to do some of the cutting. Action spells is probably good. And there was even like there's an argument to be made of, if I cut a ton of allies, I could even go up in a gates and cut some of these things. But again, I don't want to change like 8 things. Oh yeah, juggle is only 1 illusion. It's 3 dice though. So what am I gonna do? I think for sure either Old Salt or Fire Archer, one of them's got to go. Do I cut 1 of each? Do I cut 2 of 1? If my goal is to have some actual extra burn power, then the Fire Archers probably make sense, and they're cheap and I can afford them. Old Salt, do I need 3 big bodies when I also have Gates Defender, Dreamlock Mage, Umbral, whatever? Not necessarily. So let's just say cut it down 1, right? Let's just start with that. If I'm doing Shadow's idea where I do 3 books, Gates, that's 7 plus Hope is 8 for the duplicate. I can do Glory, Light Swordsman. That's not bad. So I think probably worth keeping that as an option right now. Particle Shields are at 2, Summon Sleeping Widows. That's my other option. So like, do I want to cut one of the things I just added, or do I want to cut something else that I didn't really feel strongly about? I don't know if any of you guys have anything. Dreamlock, is this worth the extra? Like, is the spin down necessary? I don't think so. It's a lot of pressure on my illusion. It is a nice beefy body, but I think now that I've gone up in Old Salt and I have still Gates Defender there, and I also now have the Particle Shields to support some beefiness, I can probably get rid of this. It's like there's a certain point, a comfort zone of where you can go too much into your idea and not be well rounded. And I have so many allies already, so I think this is a fair cut to support the dice a little bit better. 2 more cards to cut. I don't know that Umbral is necessarily the right unit here, but again, part of this deck idea was to try out new things. It is one of the only other knights in this deck, so maybe keep it. Fork Lightnings. Do I need 3? So one of the things to consider is when you're drawing, if I get 3 in hand, am I going to be able, or 2 in hand, am I going to be able to play them? And does it help me? Or is it more that I'm screwed? I don't think I need 3 Fork Lightnings if I'm also adding an Old Salt. But I'm still not sure about this Paladin because of the cost. I think I should, at this point, count up the illusion to see whether I should make an illusion cut or a divine cut. So we've got 5 here right now. The Dream Fractures count because I'm not starting them, so that's 3. 3 Whisperers, and ideally I'm getting at least 2 of those books, so you kind of assume, okay, I'm going to use 2 of those each round, so really I'm only working with 3 dice. So we've got 3 Dream Fracture, that's 5 from the Gates Defender. Hollows is another 2, so that's 7. Umbral is another 2, that's 9. Gates is a starting card, really, so I'm not going to count it. So 9. Juggle is 1, it's 10. Ink Spill is 11. 2 Particle Shields is 13. And so that's 13 on 3, which is a lot. I prefer a maximum of 4 per die, 4 costs, depending on how your first 5s, like how flexible you want to be. So to me, it feels like I'm too heavy in illusion, and that either means cutting down the divine to make room for illusion, or cutting out one of the illusion cards. I think I'm going to err on the side of cutting out a divine, and that means cutting out this paladin. So I don't really feel like it adds much to this game plan, and I'm big on allies. At like 12 allies is still plenty, or going down to 11 is still plenty. So I'm going to cut that, and I've got 1 more card to cut. 11 allies feels good, so I probably don't want to cut any more there. I am going to switch this die now to an illusion. And so really I'm looking at action spells or reaction spells. Particle Shields, the 2 of them, I think they really do support this game plan of cheapies plus drawing into the cards I need. So I'm not going to get rid of that. My big question mark is the Ink Spill and the Juggle. If I look at this list, I have a lot of weenies. I don't have a lot of hard removal or big removal if I face like a knight deck. And I am still on this sort of spin down idea. So I think Juggle fits well into that. It raises my own dice for some of these high cost cards like Hollow and Gates Defender and Umbral. It deals 3 damage, which helps me take out some of the beefier units. And I only have one of, it's a side action that I can also combine with Lightbringer, which then could also, combine with some other things like Widows, whatever. So I'm going to keep that. Ink Spill. It's probably good if I was really playing an aggro deck where I wanted to do a lot of my own swinging, but Lightbringer is really to draw things towards me. Scrawler is already doing some exhaustion, and the Whisperers are really more like sit there and be a roadblock to lead into the burn plan. So in that sense, I don't really care for bypass, and I think that's going to be the final cut. So now the spread for you, Shadow, is 2 ceremonial, 2 divine, and 6 illusion. And I think this feels just a little bit better in terms of being able to answer what was my problem, which was Swarm. Answers the problem of drawing into the cards, and I'm still getting to try the new stuff, which is fun, and I can then make more judgments on like, is Umbral worth it, or should I have, like, just as future thoughts, if I faced Demona Dragon, I kind of like Shadow Guard as a first five against Dragon. So my thought would be that maybe Umbral isn't the best in this deck anyway. And if I'm going to swap a 2-cost illusion for another 2-cost illusion, Shadow Guard is really nice there. That would be like one thing. I also did somewhat wonder, like, if Burn is part of this idea and I'm not getting far enough, then instead of Glory Light Swordsman play, what if I boosted the Ceremonial, or even, actually, I don't even think I need to. What if I played Ritualist Chant of Revenge? Because, Hope still has 5 spellboard. I could actually fit that in really easily with the Gates plan. And then I'm adding to that burn plan. I have 11 allies. Like, this is sort of a next step of maybe that's something to do. Okay, Charlotte. Yeah, no problem. Go to bed. Get some sleep. So that's iteration for you, like tweaking a deck. So that's my approach. Now, what I'm going to do next is take this idea one step further, and I'm going to talk about shape changing. I guess I don't. There's not really a. What's the standard list? Yeah, so I would say that the standard first 5 for this, and it's usually good if I actually wrote it down somewhere, like in the description. The first 5, is going to be the 3-book and duplicate. That's so 3, 4 gates makes everything up to 8. And then really it's a 2-cost flex. So my options are either Widows or Old Salt. And since I went up on, let's see, I had 1, 2, 3 for Gates and Whisperer, I could actually do I still have the 2 Divine to support Lightbringer. So I could actually do something like a Gates Defender, which could be good. I'm not sure if it's good against Demona, but like maybe a Light Swordsman spam. That's not too bad. Yeah, you sort of, you have your pick there. I could do an Acrobat and just not like double Scrawler if they don't have a lot of 0 units. That's an option too, but that's, I think, sort of what my standard is. All right, so that's a list. Let me know if you guys want me. Well, I guess I'll just post it on the YouTube description, but try it out. Let me know how it goes. Let's move on to changing the shape of a deck, but which is like a step up from tweaking. So I do this a lot when I have like a core idea, and I can easily sort of get maybe the 2 dice spread of what I want to do. And then the third choice, because I don't know, I like 3 colors, whether it's the splash or otherwise, it's like, if I go into nature, I could do it this way. If I go into sympathy, I could do it this way. Like, you have all these ideas, and so I will build the core idea and then build a copy with this type and then this type, and then usually send it to some of my friends who I do cooperative deck building with, and see what their thoughts are, or send it to Fred, have him test all the ideas, and let me know which idea works the best. Yeah, so this is a step up, because now we're looking at changing more than just 3 cards or 4 cards maybe at the most, which is, I think, what we did here. we're looking at taking the core idea, and then if you switch like one color or add in a color, how can you address the concerns that you have with the deck, but also try something a little bit different. So in that case, what we can do is go back to this deck, and I'm going to use the same deck again, but we're gonna change it a little bit more drastically. So in this case, you go to a deck and there's the clone and edit. Okay. And so this is going to be something different. So, sorry, I got something in my throat. Again, you want to stick with the core idea, which was spin and burn. But I want to address some of those same concerns I had in the other game, and that was with like a little bit of beefiness and maybe wanting some more ping. So can't really change illusion. Feels like the core idea did fairly well. So gonna keep that. So it means I gotta either get rid of the divine or the ceremonial. So if I'm looking at it, naturally ceremonial gives me the burn, like the additional burn, and it also gives me some hard removal and the widows. So that's fine. The divine here, realistically, it's giving me light bringer, and that's it. I don't think light swordsman is the most important, and fork lightning, which we just added for removal, could be done by other colors. And the main color I think of is nature. So this was an idea I had while I was like at the end of the game. I was like, I wonder if instead of playing divine, I played nature and I played something like Adaptodon, because that was like a little bit bigger of a body, gets me some ping, gets me also some extra bypass if I need it. Gives me access to Ice Trap, Nature's Wrath, and what was the other one? I mean, I could even, now the Molten Gold's back in, it gives me some hard removal. Sympathy was another one that I could think, but not exactly because of this, but I do want to do I'm looking at your comment, Fritz. I want to do the from scratch build using Diver, because that's the card I'm most excited about. So that's going to be next when we do a from scratch build. So I think I'm going to do nature. And if I think about nature, two options I can go into. Either I do the Adaptodon sort of play, or even Butterfly Monk, which works really well at prolonging the game for your plan to work. And it works really well with Hope's Duplicate because it's free heal, basically. Well, not free, but It also gives me access to Clashing Tempers, which is also ping. So there's like a ton of ideas and that's going to be a fairly major switch. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to start with getting rid of all the divine cards. So Lightbringer is gone. Light Swordsman's gone. And as a result, I don't need Glory. And the Fork Lightnings are also gone. And I'm going to keep the rest of this for now. But realistically, Juggle's going to go. Umbral is going to go. And that's probably it. Maybe the Particle Shields go. Because I could do a little bit different of a build where I have maybe one root armor. But we'll see. Heck, let's take out Juggle now. And the Umbral, I can always add them back. Let's pare it down a little bit more. Let's get it down to like the real core idea of spin down burn. Do I eliminate the Gates Defender? I'll keep it just because it's one nice unit. Gates is important. We'll cut out the particle shields. So we're down to 20. So this is like a more substantial cut. Not only did I cut down 10 actual cards, but I cut down like more unique cards to pare down the idea. So now we go into nature. And again, I'm just going to toss in all my ideas to start and then pare it down. So Clashing Tempers, I'm just going to like add 3 of a bunch of cards, and then we'll cut them all down. So Ice Trap is always just a good card to have. Nature's Wrath is a good card to have. You know what? Frostbite's not the worst idea in a burn deck. Adaptodon was one of my ideas. Butterfly Monk was one of my ideas. And the Wrath. And Herder is a really good hope card. Even I don't think I'm going to go crazy like up to 3, but I'll put in 3 now just so I can easily see what I have and what I want to cut. Anything else, guys? What do you think? Let me see if there's. I think that's probably pretty good. Oh, Molten, the new Molten, because that's removable. Yeah, I'm just gonna. I'll put in 3, but I'm gonna cut that down. Okay, cool. Adding 18 cards just like that. Very easy. All right. So again, keeping the core idea, but now really shifting the shape of the deck and what I can do with it. So the question is then, if we just look at ready spells, can't fit all of this. And what do I really want to do? I think the Whispers have to stay. And I'm interested in exploring this 1-2 split of Scrawler and Void Pulse more, because in like other games I've played, I'm still every now and then facing these 0-2 walls, and Scrawler's surprisingly useful there. And even like other weenies, 1-2, if you duplicate the Scrawler, is useful. And it's a basic sync. So I think it's a good body. So I'm going to keep these 2 as part of it. And so the question is, between Adaptodon, Butterfly Monk, Frostbite, and Dream Fracture, what am I doing? And here's where it starts to get tricky. If I want to do Adaptodon for some ping, I'm really, and keep any other nature cards, I'm really going to have to pare down the illusion. Like it's going to take a big chunk. If I go with Butterfly Monk, I could probably do just Butterfly and then up to 4 cards of nature just on those 2, and I could go down even more. But I can't keep all of this, and it's like, do I want Frostbites? They are basic sinks, so really it's like between Adaptodon, Butterfly Monk, and Frostbite, what do you guys feel? Do you have any inclinations? Again, this is not necessary. These are my own thoughts, but it's fun to see what the audience thinks. I'm tempted to try Butterfly Monk. Actually, originally I was thinking Adaptodon, but I don't want to change and eliminate so many of my illusion dice. Butterfly Monk fills in sort of that space of protecting my units from attacks. So it almost fills in that particle shield goal. It fills in the keeping your end game going by healing to get to those dream fractures and that burn plan a little bit better. And it works with duplicate. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I was originally last night. I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to do Adaptodon to get some ping. But I think we can actually handle ping in a lot of different ways. So Adaptodon's gone. It's going to be those 3 books. I think I might end up keeping Frostbite if I can find 7 other cards to cut, because that would also add burn. It would add ping. It would add basic sinks. So it's got a lot going for it, if I can keep that, which is pretty cool. And you don't always get to maximize your spellboard use, because it can be pretty tricky. So it's a nice option. So now we get down to, like, we added 3 Raptor Herders. Probably too aggressive. Realistically, that's going to put a lot of board pressure, and I don't really have a lot of self-clear, and I think I'd like more of the other cards in nature. So Raptor Herder at 3 is almost certainly a no-go, but I don't want to go too low on allies, because I'm not guaranteed to draw the 3 books. So maybe just 2. We'll stay there. Clashing Tempers, definitely do not want 3 of. I know this is Fred's favorite card, and it is a great card, but if I draw 2 of these at once compared to anything else, not great. And I need to keep the nature cost somewhat lower, so let's at least cut 1 of these for now. Molten Gold is a double cost. I'm not sure about it. I'd have to sort of quickly redo the math. I think Ceremonial is still fine, because I'd almost rather have a second Fester if I'm going to be doing, like, having access to Ping Fester. Oh, we know these are nature, by the way. So I'm not too sold on having that high of a pressure. It's also not great because Butterfly Monk costs. So let's cut that. I do want to try it at some point, but not today. Ice Trap, 3 of. It's very good, but again, I don't want 3 in my hand. It's probably like a first 5 option, plus then drawing 1 later in the game. And it's also a little bit of a mind game. If you run 2 of Ice Trap in the same way if you run 2 of Particle Shield, your opponent's never really sure if you have that 3rd one, and they somewhat have to play around it. So I'm going to cut that down. And then Nature's Wrath, 3 of. That's almost certainly a no. The weenies are unlikely to clog up that much. And with Clashing Tempers, with the increase in Old Salts, with everything, I don't think I'm that worried about self-clog. So, and now that I have nature, technically I could self-ping. So this might only be a 1 of. It could be a 2 of, and I could go down in Clashing Tempers as well. I'm not sure. We have at least 1 more card to cut. So that's a good question now. Like, what are we really trying to do? What supports our plan? What doesn't? We probably are good on the spell board. Like, we can't really cut any more of the units, and we don't want to cut the 3 ofs that lead us into the focus. If I was doing, I don't know, some sympathy for Sand Mage or whatever, like, the new things that help focus, maybe. But I think I'm going to keep that, so I'm not going to change anything there. So it really comes down to allies, action spells, and reaction spells. What is my first 5 now? That's a good question. Can I still do a Gates Thrown Open? So it's 2 cost there, 2 illusion there. That's a basic. Yeah, so no problem with the Gates Thrown Open. The Ceremonial haven't changed, so that whole plan sticks. So the Widows stay, the Old Salt stays. So really, it's probably going to come down to Clashing Tempers, Nature's Wrath, and the Ice Trap, or the Herders. Do I want to go down to 9 allies? I don't know. It's a good question. Do I want to go down to just 1 ice trap? Is there a world where if I'm playing an ice trap, a 1 of, I'd like to be able to first 5 it? So the question is, what is my first 5 in that case? If I'm playing the 3 book plus duplicate, that's only 4. Ice trap would be 5. How do I get to 10? I can't. I don't have a knight right now, which would only be 3 anyway. So I'm kind of screwed in that sense. Can't really do anything there. If I did something like Void Pulse and draw 2 cards, then I could hope to get up to that cost, which is an option. So I could like Void Pulse, Ice Trap, and 3 book. That's a little bit dicey. So when I look at it, I'm probably cutting the action spells. Now, I don't know if I'm going to self-clog, but I lean towards not. And since I'm on a burn plan where like Whispers, Dream Fractures, and Frostbites are very passive and I don't need to be swinging out and potentially over-exhausting myself, I'm not too worried. So if the option is like having removal for my opponent or lockdown and clearing both of our boards, which I'm not really worried about because my weenies are probably going to intentionally die, or I'm okay passing and having them all there, I'm going to cut the Nature's Wrath. And there we go. We're down to 30 and we've changed the shape. So now we just got to do a little bit of quick math. We already know from before that the ceremonial were okay. Really, I just need to check the nature here. So 3 Frostbites, they're basically like basic sinks. I don't really need to worry about it. I assume I will be able to draw 2. So I have the Butterfly Monk, which means I really only have 1 other die. So then we have 2 Tempers, 2 Ice Traps, and 2 Herders. That's 6. 6 on 1 is a little tight. I got rid of the Particle Shields, and having access to Pink Fester is probably okay. So I think I can actually get rid of, like, go back to a 5-3-2 split. So I'm going to try that. Hey, Fred, what's up? Quick rundown is the first, section of the stream was doing a tweak on a deck that was a Hope, Ceremonial, Illusion, Divine, and just like tweaking something based off of previous games. This one is changing the shape of a deck by switching the Divine out for Nature and trying something that still keeps the concept of the deck together. And now we're going to move on to building from scratch. I don't suppose anyone has... let me just catch up on chat. Oh, yeah, I can't start with both Hope cards. You're right, Shadow. So I wouldn't be able to start with Void Pulse. I'd have to basically choose if I was going to not do Scrawler. So it would be Void Pulse, Monk, Whisper. That's 3... Dupe 4. I mean, part of me wonders if I want to... This is just a last minute thought. I got rid of both of my knights, but now I'm in Nature and Ceremonial, and I have the option in my first 5. Maybe a Hammer Knight. Hammer Knight could be really interesting. Oh, Fred's thinking, is 3 Dream Fractures too many? That's a good... You know what? With the addition of the Frostbites, I don't know that I need 3 Dream Fractures. It'd definitely be nice to get them online early, but if I do draw a couple of them, that's definitely worse than drawing the Frostbites. So yeah, let's do that. let's cut down. I said I wasn't going to because I thought we were okay, but you know what? Let's do that, and let's put in a Hammer Knight and see if that makes a first 5 option any better. Because it still fits now with our dice spread. Gives us a little bit of beef. So we've got, let's say, Hammer Knight is 3, Whisper Monk 4, 5, Duplicate 6. And now we have options. We've got 3 cards, 6 dice. Could do Gates Defender, Old Salt. Could do Clashing Tempers. Could do a Void Pulse. And then not do Scrawler. Could do Scrawler with a Frog Ping and Gates Defender. Like, there's a lot of options now. No, so Fred, just to catch you up, this is not like tailored towards tweaking with a tournament deck in mind, because I think that could be its own video on meta calls, things like that. But I did think about Shadow Guard as one, and that's probably something I could fit in here. If I was going to do that, let's just say I wanted to do that, what would I do? I would probably... I think I would either cut the Raptor Herder or the Hollow and put in a Shadow Guard. Let's just do that. Why not? Let's continue along the way, taking some feedback. I did say I want... Oop, that's not how you spell shadow. You'd think I would know by now. Oh my goodness. All right, so Shadow Guard goes in, which means one more thing comes out. Let's take out... Let's take out the Herder. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. All right. Cool. So, again, this is like changing the shape. It's not going to be perfect the first time you do it, and you shouldn't go into deck building, especially not, you know, building from scratch or doing a major change like this with the goal of like, this is going to be perfect competitively. And that's not my goal for this video. But this is like how I take a deck that exists, I find what the core is, and then change it to try something new, but still maintaining, you know, at least half, I would say, of the original deck. All right. Now we get to the fun bit, which is building something completely from scratch. I have an idea of what I want to do, but it's really like, again, when you start deck building, you just need a core idea. Sometimes I've built decks off of movie titles and song names. Sometimes it's just colors, magic colors spreads that I haven't tried yet. And this time, because Moon Cove just dropped, my goal is to try some of the new cards, but in particular, I really wanted to try, actually I'll do it by release. I really wanted to try Diver. I don't know why this was the one card that sang to me, but I think this is really cool. I think it's really cool to have a one cost sympathy summon that isn't just Salamander Monk. It looks awesome. It, I think, has a very good ability, which is, you know, when this is declared as an attacker, you can actually draw from the bottom of your pile. I think that's kind of neat to explore. And the book itself has a focus, which is if you spend sympathy power sides once it's focused, you get to deal damage. So it's giving yourself some pain. So this is going to be the thing that inspires me. And then what I'm gonna do is what I like to do is immediately think, okay, what's one other thing either that I want to try, or what's one thing that synergizes with this one card. And so for me, just because I guess my recent tendency has been to try Ramia in a few different ways. I'm on a little bit of a Ramia kick. This, to me, the idea of like drawing from the bottom of your deck, and also a card that wants focus, seemed very Ramia to me and very like paired well with Ancestral Army. So that's what I'm gonna do. So we're dropping. Oh, I gotta right. Oi, gotta add Ramia in, and yeah, and we're gonna do some Cerulean Diver action. All right, now I gotta clear that out. Oh my goodness, show me everything. There we go. All right, so we're gonna use Ramia, and I'm just gonna drop in 3 Ancestral Armies because I'm not at all looking at building with Seek the Depths. So this is it. This is how I start a build. It's like, what is my core idea? There we go. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can go from here. So first thing we know is that we're going to need some sympathy. So that I like to put in the dice spread that if I had everything on board, what do I need? I need at least 3 if I get all 3 books going. The Ancestrals are a nice basic sync, whatever. Fred, what are you saying? Can we try her Fish Dragon? Oh man, you want to try Seek the Depths? Well, it's not about cycling through your cards. It's about being able to pitch them for almost for free and then getting them back. But I also like the ping on her board. Craig, I'm gonna say no right now. I do want to build a Seek the Depths deck, but I don't think this is it. I don't know. I'm still skeptical on that card, and I'm not really looking to make too much of a challenge for myself. It's just so it would definitely, I would lean into more of the spin down aspect, and I don't think that pairs well with Cerulean Diver. I think Ancestral is just probably better. So that's what I'm gonna do. So then what is Ramia good at? She can draw a bunch of cards and focus them, so that's always nice. Is there anything else that pairs well with Cerulean Diver, or that I'm interested in trying from Flood of the Moon Cove? So that's a good question. Like, what do we have here? There's a lot of cool stuff. We don't need the new uniques. Absorption, simple, prevent a card. That might be useful. Moon's Blessing. Could run Aspirant with no Divine to shuffle a card on the bottom. You could do that. Forget what else. There's a couple cards that shuffle them. Moon's Blessing. Search your discard pile for a ready spell. Place it in your hand. I think this is probably some good secret sauce with Ramia and focusing a bunch of things. Like this could easily just be another sort of burn deck. Reverberate, I think, is a pretty cool card. Definitely see the power of it, and so that's probably going to go in there. Sandstorm Sage, maybe. I don't know if it's for this deck. Colossus, I don't think so. Transmogrify is interesting if we wanted to do some like shenanigans with Ancestral Army and then moving the cards around, but maybe not. Alchemist, I think, is just really good. It's more draw. It's raising dice. It's a good ally, and it pairs well with the diver. And then there's Undaunted, which is, one of the possible alterations for Transmogrify, or just, whatever. So, what do we want to do? Well, one thing I think is I'm just going to add in 3 Reverberates and maybe 2 Moon's Blessings and 2 Alchemist, just because. Why not? Let's try. I usually put 2 ofs if I'm just like, hey, let's see what it's like, but not get flooded. And then Transmogrify, I don't think I'm going to go crazy on alterations, but maybe. We'll see what we could do. Does Undaunted do anything here? Not yet. I'm not like... It could be a thing. I'm curious, but we'll have to see like where else we want to go. What other thing do I look at when I'm starting a deck is like generally how to fill out the spell board, especially if we're currently in a draw a bunch and focus books thing. That's where I'm going to look next. So let's get rid of these filters and let's just go and look at some well, it doesn't have to be summons, but we're gonna probably want at least one more summon, and that will probably dictate like the either the next color or potentially the next 2 colors. So we have the divers, which are already cheap. Ancestrals are also pretty cheap. I'm leaning on something that is at least probably a 2 lifer and or more. And so that can either be something big or something defensive, or do we want something that's aggressive? We have to remember that Ramia only has 5 battlefields, which is problematic if we're also planning on running Cerulean Diver. So part of me is leaning again towards a burn deck and having a little bit of life. So if I want some burn, I'm worried potentially about self-clear, and I also don't like, I want a beefier unit that can stand around. I have 3 thoughts. One is trying out the new Emperor Lion. I think someone just called that out. Yeah, Fritz just called it. Emperor Lion, I think is useful as a spot filler for 5 spell board. It's got alert, which is really good, and I think we could do something there. If I'm looking at burn, then I also, so that puts us in divine, and self clear, then I also probably want ceremonial. So that's probably the spread I'm looking at, and then that should be plenty to sort of build off of. Shadow, I could do demon going into illusion again, but I think I'm gonna try this out. I'm gonna do Emperor Lion, the new Emperor Lion, by the way, which is, oh, that's a mistake. Somebody tell Skak the errata is not in. It's still showing the old image. I wonder if I click it. If I click it, does it have? No, it's just wrong. Okay. Well, the errata is not on Ashes Live, but we know that it is now alert 2-4. So yeah. So we've got the Emperor line, and still want like another either book or another utility spell, and then we can get some stuff going. So what do we have? there are a few things that are probably more on the cheeky side. I think, what is it? Where is it? The cut, not cut the strings, not drain vitality. My goodness, what's the one? My mind is blanking right now. Small sack. I think that's focus. Yeah, focus 1. That's a bit cheeky. Could work. It actually might not be. It's kind of funny. You can either deal 1 damage, clear your Cerulean Diver, deal a ping to another thing, or if you get it up to focus, you could take a couple hits with Emperor Lion, and then it would, because it's got alert, it would be unexhausted. You can then put an exhaustion token on it, and exhaust one of their units. That's kind of funny. It's kind of funny, kind of cheeky. I don't know if that's worth it, but I'm gonna put it as like an idea of like, hey, what about this? Guild Link, Fritz is saying, yeah, Guild Link is good for sure. The Emperor line also has overkill, so it helps us with some burn. So my question is, do we want what is it? Not piercing light, radiant light. Because Ancestral Army, I remember Lark mentioning this way back. Radiant light is something you want to draw into, but you also want to be able to shove it to the bottom of your deck if it's not good. It buffs the heck out of the ancestral spirits if you sort of play it with Blessing of Light. Blessing of Light. Yeah, that's the one. So it could be a cheeky thing there. Again, not focused on building a competitive deck. Just talking about the ideas that could go into building something. And also, I tend to like exploring new ideas that I haven't tried a million times. Piercing light adds overkill. It's always an option to, try for that. Well, you can't get rid of it, but like it shuffles. No, I meant like if you drew it and you're like, I don't care or need this right now, you can meditate it. You could meditate it, or you could be like, I need this later, but not now. Right? And it also does shuffle your thing, which could be important. So it's like, I don't know, maybe. So like, okay, like maybe. We've got 2 candidate utility spells. So those are candidates. Is there any ally that we want to support this build? So right now we've just got the Ancestrals and these Twilight Alchemists. This is where sometimes things you can like start off with like, these are the 2 cards I'm going to build, and then you're like, I don't know what I'm going to build. One of the things that's nice in these colors that I like is Sonic. Again, it's an alert knight, so it's good on a smaller board because it can just sort of sit there and apply pressure. And if we want any of this stuff that is focused, Resonance is a good one of. It could even possibly be one of our first 5s. And that gets the Cerulean Diver on board. And if we added 2, because maybe we want to just to either draw into Small Sack or whatever, or if we pick another focused book, Scald is an option of just tossing high count cards. I also like Scald because sometimes you draw into 2 ancestral armies and you're like, oh, this sucks. Like I don't want this many units, or I can't pay for this much stuff. And so having Scald to just yeet it is always nice. So let's just add in, oops, Scald. I'll put in 2 of those Sonics, because if you're gonna have Scald, you might as, and you're gonna have alert stuff, might as well. And I don't think we need shepherds, especially if we're in ceremonial already. We could just pull back our own thing. But I am going to get the resonance to think of like, oh, what happened? So resonance. I'll put it as a 1 of. It's a 3 cost. It is something we could do 2 of and then just chuck it. Stags with army is definitely something. One thing we don't have any of other than reverberate is removal, like hard removal. So we have like ping, right? We've got some cerulean diver action. Maybe we do small sack. I think I'm leaning towards yes and not radiant light. So that could be a thing. So if we're in ceremonial, Fester is, I don't think, being played enough right now, and it's just good old hard removal. So add some Festers in here. I don't think we need to like double down and play reverberate and fork lightning or anything, so that's probably like, we could probably just sit on that. So I think we kind of want another either book, or we want to finally decide on what we're playing here, and then fill it out with whatever. So Radiant Light, I'm not sold on it. It's questionable, and I feel like if we're doing that, it's more of a build around. So I'm not sold. The resonance is an easy add. I think that's fine. It works in a lot of different ways, and it's not going to take up a spellboard slot. And then small sack, I think, is actually kind of cheeky and kind of interesting. I'm curious to experiment with this. So I'm going to keep that and ditch the Radiant Light. We've got 23 out of 30 cards. We've got some removal. We have no reactions. Not that we need them, but probably good. We've got the Moon's Blessing, which wants to pull ready spells back. Everything is just leading me to think we need more ready spells. So either that's small sack, or we figure out one more potential unit, and not go super ham with allies. And then that's like maybe 3 more cards. Then we can do either some plan B is what I like to call it. So like if we can't break through on the board, if we can't win the board, then what's our plan? Is it mill or is it burn? In these colors, it's not going to be, well, I say that. Sympathy now has access to some decent spin down, but I probably lean more on burns. So because we have access to Final Cry and Sympathy Pain in the same go, that's probably what we do. I haven't played with any of the new stuff, and I see a lot of chat that people have played with stuff. Undaunted is so good with Sonic and Emperor line. Okay. Sold. Fritzy, you win. I forget. Oh, yeah. Plus, you're right. And it's kind of like the Sympathy's version now of Clashing Tempers. Like, it's a 2 cost. It's a buff. It's, whatever. Yeah. Let's do that. Now I'm starting to feel it. Cost-wise, we'll get to in a minute, but I think we're actually going to be a little stretched. So I'm not sure about how much more ceremonial I want. Okay. Good night. My wife can't watch me anymore. I'm only so exciting, but it is also late and she's been with the kids all day. All right. So we've got 5 cards left. Guys, this is where I go to you. I think Sympathy Pain is an interesting one, Fred. Plan B also counts as removal, which I always like. You can always play it as removal. So we're going to do that. 2 cards left. I think we've got enough units. We either go up to 3 small sack, which is a potential, but then we need, we need at least 3 ceremonial. Is there anything else unit wise? Don't think so. Now I'm curious. Now we have this Undaunted and Moon's Blessing. Now I'm curious about Transmogrify. I'm very curious now. Sage. So we have a lot of like bodies, I think. Like this counts as 3 effectively. Cerulean Diver we're going to be summoning for sure. So it's either going up on small sack or adding a Transmogrify. This is another thing. Sometimes what I do, just as a, like, it's not building a precon exactly, but it's the same concept of you can get, like, there's so many ideas. You can have a million ideas. Sometimes I end up with 50 or 60 cards in the list because I'm just adding ideas, and then it's like, oh, it's such a pain to condense that many cards. So one of the things that you can do is if you just have a very small core idea, put 3 ofs everything. If you put 3 ofs everything, it makes you focus on like the 10 cards that are really synergistic, and it also makes you think, if I drew multiple copies of this card, am I happy? Because if you're not happy, then you have an issue somewhere, either with your dice spread or whatever. I can already see that there's some cards that I'm like, we definitely, if we had 3 ofs, would be problematic, and I don't think fit the dice spread. But that's just like a trick you can do, is just build 3 ofs everything, and then you're like, here's the 10 cards. And then you can start to go back to the first process we talked about, which is tweaking, where you're like, okay, I definitely don't need 3 of these. I've played a game or 2, and I can trim, like just a couple cards at a time. So when in doubt, just fill in 3 ofs. You don't have to add 20 unique cards. You could just try and stay focused. And if you draw 2 of and it's bad, don't have 3 of. I think that's what you're saying, Fred. That's a good one. So was there any, Crescendo to discard Reverb could be silly. Crescendo is always a good card. So yeah, like, I mean, just Crescendo. I'm interested in Transmogrify. I'm interested in this small sack going up to 2. But now, just because I'm not sure and there's only 2 cards left, I'm actually going to do the dice count now to see where I want to fit in. So based off of just, if I ignore Resonance, just because it really screws things up a little bit, and I'm just looking at Cerulean Diver and Emperor Line, I already know for sure I need 2 Divine and 3 Sympathy. Ancestral is great, doesn't need anything. If I want to play a Scald, I'm going to need at least 2 more. Same thing, if I'm playing Sonic, I need at least 1 more of each. So I'm probably, realistically, and Alchemist is also, all these cards are Sympathy. I'm looking at a 5-3-2 split, like this, just to support these cards. I could probably, no, I think that's probably a split. So now let's like actually do the the math. Have I put in blood chains? No, that's another option. Um, so, but if I'm like, I don't know, at this point, I want to see where I am first because blood chains might be better as a sacrifice thing, but I could easily see wanting crescendo as well, uh, for the offensive capability. And I don't think I added any. Well, we have sympathy pain for some burn. I could also see like just adding, fire archer or something. So let's do the math. We've got cerulean taking up 3 spots, so we're really looking at can I fill more than two. River Scald is 4, Sonic is 6, Twilight is 8, Blessing is 10, Undaunted is 12, Reverberate is 15, Sympathy is 18. We're blowing this cost out of the water. Can't do it. Can't. Remember, like my original idea was I think Cerulean Diver is cool and I want that to be a core thing. I cannot possibly fit all of these sympathy cards. It's too much. So now we have to be like, okay, what's what? I don't think I need Boone's Blessing. If I'm not doing Transmogrify and I want to play Undaunted instead, which I think is a little bit better of a pairing, and I'm not really recurring anything, I'm just going to ditch these right away. The Reverberates, I know are good. They're removal. There's a lot of flexibility. I want to keep them. I'm actually not sure about Sympathy Pain. It's Reach, but I'm going to cut it down to 2. And then I'm not sure about having 3 Scalds because that puts a lot of pressure. Yeah, I can draw a ton, but it's like I can't play it all. Like that's the issue, right? I can't play it all. So let's look at the other costs. Aside from playing Emperor and Sonic turn 1, I don't need 3 Divine. I always need 2, and I'm not sure if there's a world in which actually I need 3 anytime I play them on the same round. I'm not sure if there's a world in which I don't want the option to play both, so I'm really stuck at 3, and I think it's fine because I have plenty of basic syncs. I could do whatever, and then I have ceremonial. So ceremonial right now is really only the Fester and this small sack, which I'm starting to lean towards. It might not be the most ideal, but because I already have 3 Festers, if I replace anything with another ceremonial card, I'm basically going to need a second ceremonial. So I don't think this split really changes. I would definitely, yeah, guys, if I'm adding Lightbringer, I need more, not even starting it. I just need at least 4 Divine to be able to play any combination of them. So that's tricky. So Twilight is good because it draws and it's cheap. That's fine. I'm tempted to drop. I think realistically, I'm going to end up dropping 1 Scald and trying to find a better basic sync because I don't know that I need all of this. Although Ancestral is basic. I'm now worried about Clog. So it's like, what do I do here? Do I beef up the small sack? I think I might. But it would end up costing me 3. 1 Fire Archer feels like a cheap thing to add because I can recur it. It helps with the burn. Like whatever. That's fine. That's an easy add. 4 cards left. And I'm stretched everywhere. So now I start to look at like, okay, I probably don't add Sympathy, But like, what would I sacrifice if I wasn't playing Emperor Lion? Am I playing any Divine? Maybe. If I'm not playing small sack, what else would I do? So realistically, we want to look at Divine, Ceremonial, and Basic Sinks. Fester, yeah, you're right, Fred. The Scalds increase the night removal, so I don't need 3 Fester. And I probably don't want 3 because if I ever drew 3, it would kind of suck. So I'll go down to 2. But this is really just increasing my issue. It's not fixing my problem here. I think I'm lacking in the action spells department, realistically. And it's always nice to have the ability, like, this is 3, this is 4, this is potentially 5 because you get 1 back. So then I could play 6, 7, 8. Or if I wanted to play Sonic, I could play that. I think I could fit a Glory in here. Or, yeah, I think a Glory to be able to tutor the Sonic isn't the worst idea. Round 1. So now I'm starting to consider actions and spells. So we've got a lot of options. And there are definitely some options that are cheekier than others, so we have to think about what the issue would be. So one issue is potentially clog. One issue is the dice spread. And spam is potentially a problem, like facing a ton of small stuff. Or facing, I don't know, let's see. We're worried about like Jessa or Cole. I'm wondering if there's a world in which we have Choke. Choke is a potential, I think. Chain Creations is a cheeky removal, plus it stops some of what could be these highly focused decks. And I think Fred was asking about Meteor. I don't think it ever hurts to have 1 Meteor, especially since we've got the beef. So we just need 1 card left. Pride, or for the line, I forget what Pride does. Pride is just the stock, adds stock, right? Craig Levine, Transfusion might be playable. That's actually really good. That's an interesting idea. I haven't played Transfusion in a minute, so it's been out of my thought process. But that's actually a pretty solid idea. Why isn't it coming up? Is it because I didn't fully spell it? Ugh. That's not a bad idea. And we have the board space for it, and it's easily tutorable round 1, and then it doesn't add any cost. Keeps the line alive. I think at this point we probably have enough allies. I like that. You know what, Craig? Good job. Which means we need Ritualist. So now we're changing things a little bit. We need at least 1 Ritualist. I don't think we need like 3 chants. 1 is really just enough to add a little bit of whatever. I think we drop the small sack now. Chant of Sacrifice? Drop the resonance. Yeah. I don't think. I think we could drop the resonance. Does this work? Does that? Oh, does work. No, but we could. You could play small sack, deal a damage to your unit, deal a damage to them, and if you already have your chant token, like either you're self clearing and then you just. That's kind of cheeky and fun. Do we have enough? We have enough scald fodder. That's kind of interesting. Okay, we hit 30. So this is it, right? Like I think this is where I'm going to stop with this because you can keep going over and over and over again, but you're never going to know until you play. So really, we just need to make sure that we have the last part. Sometimes it's the first part. Sometimes it's the last part. Sometimes you start, you're like, this first 5 would be super good. This is what I want to play, and then you fill in the rest of the deck. What almost happens to me more often is I have a core idea and it sort of builds half of the first 5, and then I'm like, do I have a viable first 5? So like, what are we doing here? Emperor Lion is 3. Diver is 4. The only thing I wish I kind of had the resonance for is that I could immediately get... Here, 1 second. Just before we cut anything, I want to see if there's a world in which I can first 5 resonance. Because then it's like, whatever. Will be a streaming game tonight. With this, no, I'm not going to stream tonight. It's already like almost 2 hours that I've been talking. But I think it would be fun to now take these decks and play them against whoever wants to play on stream, and then we could talk about like what did or did not work. But yeah, let's first, let me just, I'll get to the comments in a second. Let me see what we have. So if I wanted to play Diver, Lion, that's 4. Resonance on the Diver maybe would be, you get the 2 dice back, so I just count it as 1. So 5. Ancestral would be 8. And then you could just do whatever for 2, right? Like there's a ton of options. Plus the draw, right? Oh, like Ritualist Chant would be, I guess, the natural thing. Could play Small Sack and Resonance, and yeah, like there's a I think I have a bajillion options. So I'm gonna I just like the idea of being able to, like, round 1 already get the ping off. I'm gonna keep the resonance there. I think realistically, I don't need all of this craziness. I'm gonna keep all this. Ritualist I need for that. Does Glory really only tutor a Sonic? At this point, Undaunted is the push for natural focus. Yeah, that what you're saying? All right, Fred, I'm trusting you. Trusting you with my life. All right, there we go. We did it, folks. We went through a tweak. We went through a shape change. Brand new deck. I said I would go as long as there was interest and energy. I could totally do a speed round build. Perhaps more on the janky side, perhaps like more on the true, what I really enjoy is cooperative deck building. I do that with a couple of groups of people or a couple individuals, and that's one of my favorite things about deck building. So first we got to name it. If we got a name, then you know it's a good deck. Or if it's got a good name, good equals good deck. And then we could do a speed round if people want. If people are like, yeah, whatever, I've had enough of this, fine. I could totally bail. But I did have like one more thing that's been on my mind. I kind of half addressed it because I wanted to try the Emperor Lion. But yeah, try a Ramia deck. That's what this is. So how about a name, people? Oh, that's what. Yeah, Shadow. Sorry. Yeah, you always just name it. Or yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this is. Diver, Emperor Lion. It's not like inspiring a name immediately, but you know. Diver Blood. It's very aggressive. A good for me. I mean, we could do that. Yeah. I mean, this. I'm curious. It's got a lot of potential. A Ramia deck of all time. Yeah. You know what though? That would be an actual good deck name if we built a time deck. We'll have to wait 6 months for that. All right, fine. You spear fishing. Ooh, look at. What's that? Isn't there a technique when you're fly fishing? That's it. I don't think this is spear fishing. I feel like this is fly fishing. You're yeeting the all the things. I'm calling it fly fishing, not blood flood. Jeez, Fred. This is like this is not, you know. Let's take down the blood a little bit. I think it fits the fishing and the Moon Cove and the whatever. It all comes together. You got the divers. Yeah. That's it. The river scald. This is what we're going with. Okay. Fly fishing here, just to be thematic. Fly fishing in Moon Cove. Okay? I know you tend to fly fish in rivers, but there you go. Now it's got a name. Boom. Done. All right. It's been an hour, 40 minutes. Am I doing one more? Are we doing one more as a team? Or am I calling it quits? Because I think the new players at this point have been like, this is too much. Too much information. So rule number 1 as a summary, in case I end it here, is don't deck build. Because you've just watched an hour and 40 minutes of how brainy it can be to build an Ashes deck. Start with a net deck. Start tweaking it. Tweaking, honestly, that just that thing is going to be 90% of what you do if you're just trying to improve and iterate a deck. So I think though that section is the most helpful. Changing a shape is one of my favorite things to do, is like take an idea and just tweak it, whether it's my idea or someone else's, and then building from scratch, which is genuinely hard. But you know, I have hundreds of decks, and I'll have hundreds more by the time Ascendancy is done. So if you guys want to do it, we can do it. I've seen 2 options, and I have a third. We can vote on it. Craig wanted a Seek the Depths thing. I think Fritz said an Airedale. Therabrace said Swimia. Actually, that would have been good too. Too bad. Sorry, Therabrace. Swimia is funny. So I was thinking. So Craig wanted a Seek the Depths deck, which would be another Ramia. I don't know if you guys care or not. Fritz said an Airedale Rejuvenate deck, and just because it's been on my mind since Alfred, good old Alfredo, doesn't stop talking about it. But anytime someone says something's bad, I tend to be like, I wonder how I can make it work. So he's been talking about how Emperor Lion is bad and how Auric is bad. So that was my first I wonder if I could do this. But I think I would almost... Tip number 4. Sometimes this is actually legit. I wish I'd really thought about this earlier, but sometimes what you can just do is change, like you have what we call the shell of the deck, which is like the core idea basically, and you just flip it, or sorry, you have the deck and then you flip it into a new shell. So the shell being the Phoenixborn, and that can totally change the deck idea. And if you have ever looked on Ash's live at like Red King's decks, he does this a lot, and just that small change can really change the feel of a deck. It can accentuate the advantages, the pros, the cons of a certain deck, and it's something worth trying. So if you find a deck and you're like, I'm not really sure what to tweak, sometimes just tweaking the Phoenixborn and the unique is all you need to do, and that's a really good thing to try out. And it's really nice if you just want to try what the other Phoenixborn feel like without having to like reinvent the wheel. That's a fun thing to do. So I would just take that Ramia deck, I would flip it into Auric, and I feel like it would probably hit a lot of the notes I was trying to explore with Auric. So yeah, so there you go. So catching up, you can understand how to create your own flex slots, voting for EB Frets. Okay, so we're looking at Aerodel? Alfred Alliance, James was bad. Yeah, well, James is not bad. All right. Is that what we're doing? Have I built an Aerodel late? I always struggle with Aerodel, so I could totally, I think it's been a while. Oh, well, there was one. Yeah, let's do it. We're doing, okay, actually here. I want to, because I keep forgetting all the cards. I want to build at least something with the new cards. So, either that's building an Echo, Nominee, or Herald deck, or we build Aerodel, but it's got to have River Colossus. Yeah, Rejuve Hippo. That sounds fun. We're doing it. Doing a quick Rejuve Hippo. Here we go. Let's do it. Yeah, this is... Yeah. All right, here we go, guys. Let's do this. This is a cooperative deck build. Aerodel Rejuvenated Hippo. That's the way it's going. River Colossus. All right. So this, again, simple, right? This is our core idea. We want to build an Aerodel deck that makes use of this Hippo multiple times. So what are we doing? So first, it's good to understand and remember what actually these cards do, because I haven't used Colossus yet. All right, so it's gigantic, can't be blocked by units with a life value of 1 or less, which is good, because it means we don't need to use... So the way I think about that is, because it's gigantic, we know that we have a threat that can bypass weenies, so we don't need to use Water Blast necessarily on the weenies. We're going to be able to use it to its more maximum value of like 2 units or 3 units. When this, the Rouse 2, when this unit is declared as an attacker, you may lower 2 non-basic dice in your active pool 1 level. If you do, add 2 units. So this is where we want to play it early to maximize the attack value, which makes sense because then we play it, we get a rejuvenate token, we play something else, maybe we attack, and then we can rejuvenate and attack again before we use our remaining dice. So we can really sort of build a pressure early in round one, we can build a very sort of maybe aggressive Aerodel deck. So, if we're gonna build some pressure, we know. Well, first of all, let's just make sure we have at least 2 sympathy, and we know that we need, a die for rejuvenate. We're not sure what, but water blast. Aerodel's got tons of spaces. If we're gonna be a little aggressive and maybe buff the Colossus for even more action, I think, Fred, I saw you mention Huntmaster. Yeah, Huntmaster is good. I like it. Let's put that in there. Craig, sorry, you asked. I missed the question because there's a lot of chat going on with Demona strategy here. With a big battlefield, Phoenixborn, how much do you think about that while building? Like how much do I think about filling it out? I actually think about small battlefields more often because I don't know, maybe it's just like you tend to think about what is going to be your restriction or your problem. But there's certainly, like when I play Tristan or if I try and build for Aerodel or even James, it's nice to not have to necessarily be like, oh, I have to have some self-sacrifice. 6 tends to be like the average sweet spot, where you can go both ways depending on how you sequence and what types of units you have. But once you get to Aerodel and Tristan and James and Harold, for the most part, you can be like, oh, like I'm not really worried about self-sac. So if I want to include, a bunch of beef or a bunch of swarmy units, you can do that, which is really cool. Anyway, so you guys are all like just going Zookeeper. Oh, I guess, yeah. I mean, if we're playing Rejuvenate, Cobra just sort of makes sense. And then, because it's free. So, I mean, it's also, we did burn Plan Bs already. I think it's totally fair now that we take a look at having a mill Plan B. And Cobra fits really well with Rejuvenate. So right now we've got 3, 4, potentially 5. We don't necessarily have to use it, but I think we want to. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So now we're looking at a flex 1, which I always find is a sweet spot where you can sort of include Ice Trap or whatever. So this is pretty nice. We need at least 1 more sympathy and nature for the Huntmaster. And yeah, that, and other nature. So we're good. So this is where we are. And now it's like, what do we want to do? Do we want Gilder? Do we need Gilder? Because if we're starting River Colossus and Huntmaster, that's already 6. Gilder would be 8. 9. I guess we just skip Rejuvenate. We play 10. That is an option. If we play Gilder, I think Amplify is a nice one. We probably do want to protect some of the stuff. All right, it's a little classic, but there's nothing wrong with Gilder. So let's toss in the Amplifies because I like making use of the 0 attacks. Oh, we've got Gilder now. That's pushing us in this dice. Okay. What like good line is a good backup Rejuvenate? Wait, which line? Sorry, Fritz, I must have missed. What line are we talking about? Emperor line? Nah, we're not doing. Do you mean like as a flex? I'm not sure we can. Yeah, no, totally. But like we have rejuvenate on Cobra, right? I don't think we need Emperor Lion here. I think it might be stretching it a little bit. I do like the idea of exhortation, regardless of the fact that it doesn't. Well, what do you mean, Fred? Like it's when this unit is declared as an attacker. Doesn't what's the timing on that? Isn't exhortation also on declare attacker? Oh no, it's not. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's a non bow. Um, I mean, okay, we're like this is a little bit more classic, right? But there's nothing wrong with Raptor Herder. It also, I mean, at this point, I feel like probably could just do 3 amplifies. Yeah, exhortation is aside, but that wasn't my point. My point was that River Colossus is on attack, but exhortation is you add the attack value first. Oh yeah, but then massive growth is that's a real tough sequence to get up that many. We're definitely building a combo deck. Are we going full combo? Do I need a time die here? Wait, if we did if we did a time die, we need 2 time dice. I don't think we have enough. I'm not sure about this. Okay, if we're doing exhortation, because sometimes it's fun to just hit an exhortation. Okay, let's add 1 to start and not go too crazy. Is that standstill? Standstill feels good. Standstill as a 2 of. All right, we're only halfway done, guys. I think we're missing at least Ice Trap. I think I'm just gonna go up to, or like, is reverb? Oh, here, 1 second. I have too many thoughts. I don't know that reverberate really is doing anything here, and I'm curious as to what's the transmogrify in this particular case. If we're doing a combo-y deck, this might be worth it. Removing an exhaustion token. What would we remove an exhaustion token from? Probably nothing. We wouldn't redo Colossus. We could do Gilder again or Cobra. I don't think it's worth that. The Transmogrify with Clashing Tempers is interesting. Oh, it's not from... Sorry, I read that wrong. From the attached unit. That's actually not bad. That's like, go again. That's kind of neat. But then we definitely need some more beef. Building. But then we can't. Our spread is getting too thin, guys. It's getting crazy. All right, Cobra. I don't think we need MFO. Mindfog Owl. It could definitely be helpful. I guess if we have Mindfog Owl, we don't need Standstill. Or we wouldn't, like, we probably wouldn't use it. I'm less keen on having a... I want to keep this a little bit simpler. The problem is, what's our first 5? 2, 4, 7, 8. Nine. Oof. Maybe. Ice trap. Well, we're definitely gonna need. Okay, I'm putting in a transmogrify to remember it. No, I'm. Guys are off the rails. This cooperative deck building has been corrupted. Where's Therabray and Craig and Shadow? We need some sanity back. All right. So, oops. Why isn't this? Oh, it's because I have the releases on, right? Yeah. Okay. Ice Trap is always good. What do we say? Mind Fog. Sure. 1, 2, instead of Cobra. Maybe. But then we don't need amplifies. Okay. Adrenaline Rush is interesting. But like in this case, okay, so then taking out Exhortation, taking out Amplify, taking out the Cobra, we're flipping this a bit. We're going with the Adrenaline Rush and Massive Growth. So instead, this is like a twist on Foggy Bear. This is Foggy Hippo. This is Foggy Hippo. All right. There we go. You guys are making this quite the deck. All right. So we're still... Somehow we have fewer cards than when we started. We probably want 2 Adrenaline Rush. 2 Massive Growth. Is there any other... I have an idea of what I want to do, but I need to see if this works. I think Undaunted isn't the worst though, right? We're definitely building a little bit janky, but I don't want it to be like... I don't know. I want it to be sensible. Question is whether Wallop... So here's my thoughts. Will to Survive is just good value if we're attacking to face with anything. Wallop is good if we're aiming straight for the over the top. Undaunted is actually pretty good, but I agree that like we don't need this plus Adrenaline Rush. Transmogrify is as a one of is kind of interesting just because you can totally move the Massive Growth either between the Mind Fog, Gilder, or Colossus. So even just a one of I think is kind of nice. Polarity Mage definitely feels good to bring some stuff back if we're running low quantities of them. And right now we don't have any other allies anyway. So I like that idea, Shadow. Oh man, I really have to type the whole word in? Come on. All right. So 2 Polarity Mages. And this is actually looking pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. Golden Veil seems really important here. And we don't really have anything else that takes up. So Veils, for sure. I'm not doing Accelerate, Wall Up Exhortation. Fred, you've gone off the rails. Come back. Maybe just because, again, this is my preference. But whenever there's a new set, I want to try at least one of the new things. So Undaunted, I'm going to toss in as a one of. It feels like a nice little cheeky thing. So I'm going to put one of. Yeah, Fred, I know. But very seriously, I think the spread is going to be too hard. We can definitely count it. But right now, we don't have a lot of basic sinks. And so I think the idea of putting in a time die might be a little bit stretched. The other thing I was leaning at one point towards, like, if we're playing this aggressively, do we need Guild or what about Snapper instead? And that definitely feels more fritzy, having a Snapper. But then it kind of ruins our playing because we're not filling up our board and going for the big swing. So Clashing Tempers is a good one. That helps with our bypass. Went too far. I don't know how to spell Clashing Tempers. And I feel like we probably, like, either we just go up on Huntmaster, or I have 3 herders. I definitely think we have room for some allies. We're sticking with this 3-color spread. So let's see, by costs. Does anything stand out? We sort of dropped the plan B entirely. So, because otherwise I would have said Enchanted Violinist would be something we could do. Rose Gardener, I don't think adds anything to this. Jungle Forager, I'm gonna put a one of in there. That little squirrel is gonna get is the counter, or the colleague of Polarity Mage here. Flute Mage for sure. Let's do it. I think actually that's not bad. We probably still want a couple more units. And because we don't have a lot of basics, but also we want to be able to draw cards, I think the Alchemist is actually... No, we have Herder. But some dice fixing feels pretty good. I don't know if Alchemist or Call Upon the Realms is better in this case, though. Like, do we care about the body and the draw? What do you guys think? Twilight Alchemist or Call Upon the Realms? That's what I'm thinking. But like, could go either way. Or we do Channel Magic, but I'm not really... I think that dilutes our aggression here. Do we even have enough? I don't think we can play all this. I think I might have my split wrong. I'll have to do some math. Yeah. Well, like, so we have 5 cards left. I'm actually surprised. I thought we were way over. Let's do a quick check on the dice. So Airedale always is a blast. So we've got, let's see, Gilder is always 1. 2 Huntmasters. 3 forager. I won't count the raptor hurt yet. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 on 2 without the herders, which is fine. So that means the herders have to be sympathy. So then, but we've got River Colossus, which costs 2. And so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 on 2. It's pushing it a little bit. Craig, you think Ryle is a good bet? So we've sort of lost a lot of, if instead of Mindfog Owl we had Ruby Cobra, then I think Ryle would be a decent option. But because now we really only have like Gilder, it's not, and Raptor Herder, or sorry, Raptor itself, it's not really that great. So we're pretty tight with the Mindfog Owl and the Golden Veils. I think we may have room for one more charm card, but really like we're probably pretty set. That could just as easily be a Rejuvenate. Oh yeah, Forager, right. Forager is an O2, but still, it's like I don't think Ryle is the thing here. We have Clashing Tempers as some removal. We have Water Blast. We have Gilder as some main action removal. We have Ice Trap as the reactionary removal. I think we're okay. It's really just about either adding like some extra. We could just as easily add a third Huntmaster. Is there any reason not to? It fits all the colors. It adds a token to Rejuvenate. It fits with everything else. I don't see a reason not to. I think I'm going to bump up Huntmaster and then add in 2 Alchemists, which puts us at 12, which is fine because Airedale's got the space. And then Sympathy Pain, since this is a combo deck, Sympathy Pain might be the thing. Like, realistically, we might not be going for crazy, like, we get one Colossus out, hope he survives between the Golden Veils and whatever, and then just finish off. That might be the play. The other thing we could do is Crescendo. As, like, we don't have Standstill anymore. So it could be like Clashing Tempers, Crescendo, smack him in the face. I've convinced myself. That's what I like instead of Sympathy Pain. Crescendo is the card. Oh, why did that not? Oh, I did. Okay. Boom. Done. All right. So to recap, Rejuvenate, Gilder, Mindfog Owl, River Colossus as the board. Flute Mage, Huntmaster, Jungle Forager, Polarity Mage, Raptor Herder, Twilight Alchemist as our ally set. Massive Growth and Undaunted as some alterations. Adrenaline, Clashing Tempers, Transmogrify as our action spells. Crescendo, Veil, and Ice Trap as our reactions. And that's 30. That's 2.5 hours almost. We just need a name. We need a name for this. This is the new bypass. I don't know what to call it though. But this feels kind of fun. You want -1 Ice Trap, 1. What? Close combat? Really? You want to put that in over? Why? What am I doing? Isn't... What am I not seeing? Is that me, or should it have shown up and it didn't? I don't know why it wasn't showing up. That's weird. Oh, it's an action spell. I thought it was a reaction. But like all of our attack is just 2. What does this... I don't know what that... All right, fine. To be different, Fred. There we go. Done. You happy? That's it. That's it, guys. I don't know what to call this. I'm going to put all these decks, including mine, like the tweak version, the shape change, and then the co-op build and the scratch build. I'll put all of those links on the YouTube thing, and probably also just dump them on the Discord. But that was it. That was my thoughts on deck building. This last little one was a little bit chaotic, but it's also kind of fun when you have a bunch of people and you're like, hey, what can we add? And sometimes you end up with a camel. That's what it is. Isn't a hippo called a river horse or something like that? Isn't that what they call them? River horse. Yeah. Boom. River horse by committee. Perfect name. Perfect name. I don't know if this is a camel. It's certainly got a weird hump or two. A massive growth. It's a great pun. Come on. What? No, it said it was informal name, semi-aquatic. No, it literally translates. I've got the definition up here, Dura. It might be derogatory. Huh? Puns? No? Anyway. All right, we've got a river horse by committee deck. I think it's perfect. That's everything that I have to share tonight for deck building. Again, not strictly casual deck building, but, you know, more of like how to inspire and how to take a deck and tweak it. I think there's probably enough to talk about specifically tournament or competitive deck building where you're tweaking with respect to the meta, but I don't know that that's necessarily a topic that will last for a long time, because the meta obviously always changes. Cards have changed fairly drastically. We've had erratas, we've had bans, we have chains. So I think this is more of a general broad topic that hopefully even 6 months or a year down the road, if this gets shared and someone's like, hey, I learned something, that's all I want, is to be able to share my thoughts and for people to learn. So thank you guys for watching. I've had a lot of fun. Let me go back to my face now because we don't need the decks. And yeah, this is a long one, but it was fun, and I'm glad that some people join me. If you're watching at a later date, if you're not janky, you're stanky. Frog up, wolf down, and have yourselves, everyone, a great evening and a great week. Ciao. Oh, wait, what? Thanks for the humor. No, I'll get to it later, Fred. Talk to me later. Ciao.